Hi. It was a good episode. Hello, Yvonne. I hope your heart's okay. Hiya. Hi, Nicole. This is fun. Oh, hi, Sue. You're having a cuddle with Danielle in that photo. Hi, Nicole. Smiles, yes. 'Tis I. Smiles. Hi, Sarah. Hi. Waving back. Hi, Jessica from Germany. Hiding behind a little plant. Thank you. Yes, Leanne, I'm very glad to join you too. Hope I get to meet you all in person soon. Good morning, Teresa. How are you? Maddie. Hi, Maddie. You nearly lost it. Hi, love from Liverpool. That's where my father's from.
Hello.
Hello, Hanson. Oh,
My phone just fell off. That was fun. Hello. Boom.
They didn't tell me you were going to do acrobatics.
No, I've been practicing that all week.
Oh, Jackie. Hi, Jackie from Tasmania. And hello, John.
Hello. It's nice to be here doing somersaults.
Morning, Hayley.
I was just thinking as I was waiting to come on that even when you go on stage and when you're waiting to come into this chat, I still get that butterflies in your stomach. Do you get that when you're recording in a studio?
Yes,
When you're
all
doing
the time.
Did you do?
Yeah. I have to sort of talk myself down a bit. Yeah, my heart races. I get, adrenaline.
So how does that work practically? Are you in the green room and then runners come and collect you and bring you to the set, or?
Your ADs, assistant directors, will say, okay, Jackie, you can go to the laundry, and there might be a few of us will go to the laundry, and then we're with the crew and we have a rehearsal, and that's usually when your heart starts racing a little bit. And then once we go into takes, that's when your heart races a lot, and then you sort of calm down and get into the moment.
Having rehearsal like that is fairly rare now in television production. It's usually you hit the floor running.
We have a rehearsal before we're actually on set. So we have over that 2-week period, in the first few days, you'll have a read through. Then you'll rehearse your scenes with the director in the director's area or office, and then we'll have a run through when we get to set. So it's sort of like a rehearsal, but it's more for cameras, so they know where they're going.
Right.
And so we don't all bump into each other.
Or into the press.
Beg your pardon?
Or into the press.
Or into the press. You don't want to go near that press. I do get excited when I'm in the laundry. There is still something quite iconic about filming in the laundry, and it's quite dark and cold in there. So I've spent a couple of birthdays in the laundry, actually.
Have you?
I've spent 2 birthdays in Wentworth laundries. Not the whole birthday.
Candlelit, lovely.
Yeah, so it was like, when will I get out of here?
So if you still have that sort of adrenaline about being in the laundry set, you must have been familiar with the original series of Prisoner then. Did you used to watch it in the past?
I wasn't allowed to watch it.
Oh.
So it used to be one of those sneak down the hallways, see what you could see. But, we all knew about it, and we all knew the press was quite a famous implement. I couldn't really watch it, but,
Okay. So it's been a long 8-year journey.
Yes.
But I'm going to just take you back to the beginning. How did it all start for you? How did you hear about the project that Wentworth was being made?
I heard on the grapevine, I can't remember, actors, we always have our ear to the ground, that they were remaking Prisoner, and I was really keen to be involved. So I auditioned for a role which I didn't get. And as an actor, I do a lot of reading work, which is reading opposite other actors auditioning for roles in the show. One of the people I read for was Katrina Boomer, who was fantastic. And so I was in the room with the director, Kevin, for days and days and days and days. And he said there was a small role, would I be interested in doing it? And I just wanted to be involved with the project. And also we just bought a house practically. So it was like, I need the work. But I just really wanted to be involved. So I said yes. And I remember I got the contract and it was a guaranteed 8 days.
And you managed to turn 8 days into 8 years.
Yes, I just held on to your life.
So, when did you get an inkling then that actually this was going to be a more long-term project?
Do you know what? I never knew from season to season whether I was coming back. I never knew. I knew once we'd shot series 1 that we were onto something good. We didn't know whether people would like it. We didn't know what the attitude would be toward it. Were they going to say, oh, this is terrible, terrible remake? But once we started hearing reaction and seeing the reaction to it, we knew we were making good television. But I personally never knew. I was definitely season to season to season. So I was always pleasantly surprised to get the phone call from my agent that I was back. So,
and every season, particularly those opening seasons, they ramped up Linda's role more and more. Were you ever consulted, or did you have any input into where you'd like to go better?
I was certainly consulted. So I think it was series 2. Maybe during the end of series 1. One of the writers said, we're really liking what you're doing. We always see you in the background. There's always something going on. So we want to just keep writing for you. We want to keep giving you more to do. And then series 2, Marcia Gardner, the head writer, I went into her office and they discussed they wanted to give her a gambling addiction and that she would start taking bribes. And I was so excited. And they sort of, headed me towards some good research, in the gambling world. So it was from there that I started to get more and more that I could at least have something to cling on to and not just sort of practice my door opening, which I was very good at. It was a running gag, my door opening, I always tried to imagine that she'd come from somewhere or something had happened before she opened that door.
So what do you think the producers noticed you were doing in the background that got their attention?
I guess it's always being present. So always, I think it was Catherine, one of the directors said to me, oh, we had to give you more to do because, there was always something going on behind, I couldn't just sort of be faded into the background. So, which I thought was hilarious. So I don't know. I don't sort of know how to answer that. I don't want to sound like a idiot, wanker.
You couldn't, don't worry.
I was just thrilled that they noticed that I was in the moment at all times and not thinking about what was for lunch.
The character does get some fabulous lines. What have been your favourite to deliver, do you think? Do you remember any?
There's one coming up. In the just probably the Jamie Oliver and the Mr. Whippy lines would probably the Jamie Oliver line was the one I enjoyed the most because there was something about being with Pam Ray and her saying, "Did the prisoners make this?" And Linda's brain going, no, Jamie Oliver did. Like, that was one of those lines where you open the script and went, "Oh, I know what to do. I know what to do." Yes, they did like writing one-liners for her, and I must say I enjoyed delivering them very much.
Now, obviously, you think you refer to them as heritage characters that have been brought in, obviously the B. Smiths and Veras, to a certain degree from Prisoner. And although Linda isn't named after a classic Prisoner character, she certainly shares a DNA with one particular character. Are you aware of that?
I think I've heard you say that before. What's the character?
Colleen Powell, Judith the Grant
yes.
character.
That's funny.
A lot of fans have just said it could have so easily been named Colleen, because very similar attitude and sarcastic approach to the prisoners as well.
Well, that's Judith and I are both. She's passed on now, but I think Judith was from Queensland as well, so maybe we've got that sort of dry, droll thing happening. Yes, I actually was fortunate enough to work with her on a series called All Saints.
Of course, yes, she was She was a regular on there for a long time, wasn't she?
Yes, yeah.
What was your role on All Saints?
I was just a guest role. I had epilepsy. Can't really remember the whole story, but yeah, I got to work with her. It's back when she was a very heavy smoker. I remember that.
So what would you say have been your highlights of your Wentworth journey over the 8 years?
You mean script-wise? Do you mean that I've got?
Actually, I made that a two-part question. One as a character and one personally for yourself. So from a character point of view, what have been the highlights, do you think?
From a character point of view, probably series 7 and 8, especially 7, where we actually got to investigate the consequences of her actions as a gambler, just getting further and further into debt. The stakes were so high for her, so I really enjoyed playing that. And I also, that the Siege was such an intense shoot. I'd say nearly all of series 7 for me I loved. Series 8 has been, 8A and 8B have been really hard, because just playing a character with PTSD who's acting out violently as an actor is great, because I get to go places, but it's been hard because I love that character so much and I hate seeing that happen to her. But it's been great to go somewhere with her, because I think the hardest thing for me is we haven't got to see her backstory. We haven't got to investigate her a lot. So I've had to invent a lot. So it was nice when you actually see it on the page and go, "Oh, great, okay, I know, I get to see where she's going." So probably series 7 and 8. And also when they first said to me in series 2 that we were going to start, the gambling, that's when I went, "Oh, I've got something to play with here." And to the second part of your question, as Jacquie Brennan, the highlights, I think the highlights have been what I've learnt, even when I was opening doors very well in series 1, just watching and learning and working with so many different directors, like top of their game directors, and the friendships I've made. Celia Island calls me every 2 days. I'm not kidding. Yeah. And I often have everyone to my house for barbecues, and we are genuinely really fond of each other, and it is, I just feel so privileged to have met and worked with all of these people.
And you're based in Melbourne yourself, aren't you?
Yes.
Are most of the cast from Melbourne, or are people from other states as well, other cities? Mostly
Sydney and Melbourne, and a couple from New Zealand. Mostly, probably half Sydney and Melbourne. Yeah.
I'm just reading Alan's comment about Linda taking all the leftover wine home.
You haven't seen that yet, have you?
Oh no, I haven't seen the last half hour yet. Okay, no, go ahead. What happened?
Yeah. It's sort of Linda of old. She has
So I was at a Christmas party years ago, and I worked at an arts centre here in Birmingham. And at the end, the organiser said, "Oh, help yourself to anything that's left over." And then the next day, she said, "Were you walking down the corridors holding 2 full boxes of wine?" I went, "Well, you said help yourself." She went, "I meant peanuts." I'm on.
Oh, you love a freebie.
I went home having a party.
Anything for free, you'll take the
Yeah,
lot.
absolutely.
That's funny.
Yeah. Spinning my pockets.
Louise says, other than Smiles, which character would I have loved to have played?
Oh, good question.
I've always thought Sonia would be fun, just because I wanted to be a glamorous prisoner. I think it would have been fun to. The Freak would be fun. The Governor. Who else? I think Sonia would be my favourite, just because I just loved that storyline.
And her catchphrase I liked as well, with the "I don't respond well to whatever it happened to be at that particular moment."
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I know from inevitably talking to Kate about playing Vera that she has had people in the street shouting vinegar tits at her in public. Do you find the same when you're out in the supermarket?
Yes, yeah. Especially if I have my hair back in a pony. People get very excited. That, you know, the fans of this show, as you know, they love it so much. So, you know, sometimes I'll get a super fan who will literally shake and be so excited. But most of the time, we just have a good chat about the show. And I've had people stalk me in supermarkets, and
I suppose that having people shout Smiles at you isn't as bad as Freak or Vinegar Tits, really.
Yeah.
You've got off quite lightly there.
I think I have. I don't think I'd like people, you know, out with the kids with the trolley and somebody saying Vinegar Tits. I don't think that'd go down.
No. Now, we've got a question here from Leanne, who would like to know what's been your most challenging or emotional scene to film.
Probably the scene in the car with Jake was pretty full on, when he discovers her in a car and she's being chased for her gambling debt, and she is literally fearing for her life. And the siege was harrowing, absolutely harrowing. Just having, you know, it was in that sort of tiny little, you know, in the laundry, we're all sort of jammed in there, and guns at our heads and people being shot in front of us. And, you know, even though we knew it was pretend, you still had to go there. That was definitely, after that day, I remember weeping, driving home and just crying my eyes out. It was just exhausting. And, you know, even though you know you're acting, you still go there. Your body can't help but not go there. So that would be, yeah, the two most harrowing, definitely.
Interesting one from Jessica here. Has Linda, rather yourself, has Linda ever had a crush on anyone in the show, do you think?
Well, she definitely had a crush on Jake when he first came in.
Yeah, of course.
And she had a little crush on Sean when he first arrived. I think at the moment there's something about Anne. I don't know if it's a crush, but she wants to be near her because she makes her feel safe. And I've always thought that Linda really dug Bridget. It's probably because I love Libby Tanner. But I've always thought that Linda really sort of thought Bridget was really cool, and, you know, she looked out for her. So, of course, and Flash. Yes. Yeah. Well, I don't know if she had a crush on him. I think it was definitely just a one-night stand for Linda. Oh, yes. I don't think she was planning a future with him.
Now, you mentioned Anne Reynolds, and that's certainly brought a new dynamic to the show for you. Two of you bounce off each other and encourage each other, I find.
Yes.
Those scenes must be good fun to play.
Oh, I love working with Jane. We have a ball. I actually really dig her as a human as well. Yeah, I think Linda was very disillusioned with Will, letting, had the way the siege happened. So Anne takes control, so she makes Linda feel safe. Because imagine going through what Linda went through and then still working in the same place, still being confronted daily with triggers. So when she's with Anne, she feels it's going to be okay. Anne lets her carry a weapon. Anne lets her use force. So yeah, Anne is her safe place, I think, at the moment.
It's interesting. At the beginning of our chat, you were saying how the producers noticed what you were doing in the background, and tonight's episode opens with that tirade from Anne Reynolds, swearing in the staff room and everyone. And I was looking at everyone's faces. Of course, you've got Vera, who's just mortified and doesn't really know what to do, and you can see that Linda is full on admiration. And
absolutely. About time someone took control in this place. It's falling apart. It's a jail, for God's sake.
And poor Will just looks like he's going to cry.
I know. And that's why and that's why when she says, okay, Linda says, all right, let's go and do it, whatever it is, she looks to Will, waiting for him to say, okay, go, let's start the ramps, or not the ramps, the cell tosses. But he doesn't say it. So Linda's like, okay, well, someone has to do it.
Now, we just had a question on the bottom, which has just vanished, which asked, who is your, here you go from Jessica. She'd like to know, who is your favourite Wentworth character and why?
Oh, gosh, there's so many. There is something about the freak. It's just such an iconic character. And wasn't her first line, my name is Joan Ferguson, but you can call me governor. It's just she's so evil. So I would say she would probably be my favourite character. I still love, Bea and Frankie. Oh, that's my husband.
Oh, there you go.
That's my husband. That's hilarious.
Indeed. And obviously, Barry's put that picture up for the perfect reason. It prompts a great question. So, you're not the only member of your family who's appeared on Wentworth, are you?
No. My husband, Ian Bliss, plays Detective Collins, which was fun. It made, the ride to work a lot more fun.
It's not easier.
And I think he did 2 or 3 series from memory.
So how did that come about? Was it, take a family member to work day or something?
No, Ian's a very in-demand actor in this country. So, they were very lucky to have him.
But was it strange having your spouse on the show with you? Or did you not really get to work together?
We've worked together before, often not in the same room, which is weird. Right. I think that's in our contracts that, look, we can work on the same show, but just never in the same room. Even in Wentworth, I think we cross paths every so often. No, it was fun. It's fun sitting opposite lunch and hanging out in the green room. Yeah, it was fun.
Okay. Question here from Sarah. Do you think Linda would make a good governor?
I think she would make a great governor. I think we just have to make sure she doesn't have the keys to the safe. Look, it could go really, really well, or it could go really, really badly.
Okay, I'm going to split that question slightly. Does Linda think she'd be a good governor?
I think she does now. I think in previous series, she probably wouldn't have backed herself. But I reckon in this series, she's thinking, yeah, she can do this. You know, Anne's prepping her for governorship. She knows what needs to be done.
Okay. Now, we've talked about the fact that you've been playing scenes of a character who has post-traumatic stress. Did you have to do research into that syndrome to play it?
Yes, I did a lot of research. I actually found it, you know, to anybody who suffers PTSD, I feel for you so much. It is so distressing, especially because in Linda's, with Linda's PTSD, she acts out violently, which can be quite common. So I found researching that quite distressing. Sometimes I think about the Google history on our computers. With Anne and I both being actors, you can just imagine what Google, Mr. Google or Ms. Google is going, oh my God, what did they keep researching? Yes, so I did quite a lot of research on that.
Okay. Obviously, you've been on the show since the beginning. What was it like on Wrap Day when it all came to an end? How was that for you?
It was very sad. We were exhausted. We were all actually completely exhausted because we were shooting during a major lockdown in Melbourne. So much so we had curfews. You had to show papers if you were out past curfew. I got pulled over. Luckily, I, you know, didn't have a bullet wound in my head or at that stage or anything. But yeah, we were exhausted, and we were sad. You know, I sort of feel we were ready for it to end. You know, Wentworth as it was okay. Well, as far as I was concerned, I felt like we'd reached a conclusion. But we didn't get a wrap party, which is a really important part of being an actor, and the crew. We all get to sort of party together and say our goodbyes, and it's just a form of closure. So it was quite sad that we didn't get to do that.
It's interesting you said that after, well, 8.5 or essentially 9 seasons, you felt it reached its natural conclusion. How did you feel the first time it was going to end at the end of season 7?
When we found out it wasn't going ahead, we were all quite gutted, to be honest. We didn't feel ready. But you know, that's television. So once they said that was it, we were all shooting the ending. It was so weird. It was actually during Liz's death scene, because we'd been told we could come and buy costumes prior to that, and then suddenly they stopped the costume sale, and we were like, why would they stop the costume sale? And then it just sort of became this sort of rumor, you know, things flying around that, oh, we might be back. And we were trying to keep it from Celia and Katrina, who were shooting the most beautiful scene. But it was actually quite exciting when we suddenly realized, oh my God, we're going to be back. So yeah, what a journey that was.
That is a great way to start to speculate, isn't it? To discover. You didn't quite discover that you went back, but I can imagine that buzz going around the building.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's really exciting?
Yeah, and you're always putting 2 and 2 together. It's like, you know, okay, they've stopped the costume sale.
Yeah, the bulldozers are leaving. What's happening? So, last couple of questions, because we're nearly out of time. But we talked earlier about the nickname of Smiles. How did that nickname come about?
Well,
was it
Nick is correct. It was Nick. It was Nicole De Silva. And in series 1, my character, Linda, never smiled. I don't know if you noticed that, but I made a conscious decision that she did not like these prisoners. You know, her status was much higher than them. And Nick has just nicknamed her Smiles. And that was very much the Frankie character, that she would give people nicknames, and, you know, that really cash thing that she had. Yeah, so it's Nicole De Silva can take that one.
So did she just drop it into a rehearsal and then it got picked up from there?
I think so. Yeah. I think she dropped it into rehearsal, and from there, all the prisoners started to call me Smiles, and yeah.
And Nicole has been collecting her royalties ever since.
Yeah.
Well, we are nearly out of time. That's this. Yeah. Provide a bit of comic and albeit snarky relief.
I love snarky. Snarky is such a good word, Amy.
Actually, final question. On a lighter note, yes, your character has a reputation for being snarky, for being straight-faced, and not smiling. How do you keep a straight face? For instance, in tonight's episode, the half I've seen, when you walk into the cell and you've got Ali and Judy falling around like Laurel and Hardy high on the laughing gas, and you have to keep that stonic, disapproving look. Is that tough?
Some days it is. It depends on what you're filming. Yeah, I can't remember whether I found that funny or not. I think there was one time, and I actually used it for Linda with Boomer when she's going in for the conjugal and she's doing the full and doing the that was I could not laugh. That was very funny. But I think Linda found that funny as well. So sometimes you kind of use it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you tonight.
Oh, thank you, John.
Really great. And I've got to say, of all the characters to have made it all the way through all the seasons, I'm amazed that it's Linda, because you'd have thought every inmate would have been waiting there with a shiv for her at some point.
Yeah.
Like a scene like Julius Caesar.
That's why she's always watching. And
Yeah,
one thing we learned was never walk in front of prisoners. Always walk behind them because they can shiv you. That was from a prison officer. He said you never walk in front of them.
Oh, and so that's what you always. Okay, I'm going to be looking out for that now.
Occasionally, we might have had to switch it just from a camera angle, but you'll find you'll pretty much most of the time I'm behind them, never in front of them.
I said I think 2 questions ago the last one, but I'm going to pick up on what you've just said. Do you get professional officers from the penal system messaging you with advice or with any pointers at all?
No, I don't. Actually, a friend of mine was a prison officer. No, I've never had anyone say, I'm a prison officer, you're doing it wrong, or I'm a prison officer, you're doing it right. We did have an extra who was a prison officer who used to give us, to tell some great stories and gave us some very good advice way back when. So, and his attitude towards prisoners was he thought, didn't like them at all. So, they're all crims to him. So I sort of took a bit of that. I liked it. Trying to be friends with them.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much for giving up your time for you this morning.
Thank you, John.
Let's hope we see you over here really soon.
I certainly hope so, and I can't wait to meet you in person and everyone in person.
So I'll put my hands together because I know you can't hear everyone else, but everyone else virtually, give our guest a great big round of applause. And
thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of the series.
For bringing us lots of smiles over the years. Take care.
Thanks, John.